Hello everybody, my name is Aram. I'm a real estate agent, and this video is going to be a little different than anything else I've ever made. Instead of just sharing some facts and some points with you and some statistics, I'm going to share a story of a real estate transaction that I was a part of a few months back, simply to prove my point. Okay? So let's get right into it. Get a call from a client who's interested in selling their townhome. Alright? So I'm no problem. The situation is she lives in Vegas. She bought the property in 2007, owes a lot on it, but just needs to sell it because the tenants are giving her a hard time. Alright? So I'm like, okay, let's see the property so I can get a proper market analysis going, figure out what it's worth, we'll get on the market, we'll get it sold quickly. Okay? This was around I would say late September is when I got the call. Around mid-October is when we actually put it on the market. I go in to see the property, ladies and gentlemen. I walk in, I look to my right, I look to my left, I look up, and then I'm afraid to look down, but I do it anyway. And all I can see around me is just... honestly, there's really no word to explain it. I'll just tell you what I see. Dried up dog poop throughout the entire property. Dog hair, alright? When I say entire property, I mean there's dried up poop in the bedrooms, the closets, the bathrooms, the kitchen, the living room. Everywhere there is dried up dog poop and, of course, urine. Because they never took the dogs out. So they peed on the carpets, they pooped on the carpets, everything. It was disgusting. No way you're going to sell a property like that. And they also messed up the paint and broke a lot of things. I'm like, okay. I get out, call my client. I'm like, I got some bad news for you. So the house is a mess and you definitely need new carpets because nobody is going to purchase that house with that smell and that look. She's like, okay, well, I'm on a budget, but I don't know any contractors. I'm like, don't worry about it, I'll figure something out. So I spent the whole day. I went to about 5 different places, got 5 different bids, negotiated them from, I believe, $3,200 and to the final job being, including all the costs, $2,300. Cost for materials, of course. So the total cost was $2,300. We got it done. We got brand new carpets in there. The smell was gone. We repainted the entire place, cleaned up a few things, and just had some cleaning people vacuum it, things of that nature, right? So the property is now ready to go on the market for $160,000. Truly worth around $155,000, okay? Had to leave some room for negotiating. So we place it on the market. It is about mid-October at this point. About 11 days into it, it's a Sunday, all right? I'm just relaxing, having some fun, doing a little bit of work. I get a call from an agent. Now, usually when a buyer's agent calls a listing agent, they're preparing an offer, and it's basically like they're just trying to vet some things out, see if the seller's desperate, if they should lowball or come in high, because 11 days on the market, your offer should be strong, right? So I spoke to her. They were thinking about putting an offer around $145,000. I said, listen, number one, I need something in writing, and I got them up to $148,000 before even the negotiating began. So they put an offer $148,000. I speak with my client. She's like, well, I need $155,000. I said, okay, no problem. I go back and forth with the agent for, I would say, about 30 minutes or so, and we land on the number of $156,000. Now, I know there's $1,000 more I got from my client. There's a very good reason why I fought extra for that $1,000. We could have lost the deal, but I had to fight for that one, okay? I got it. So first week comes into it. Now we have to do the inspection. This is when it all went downhill. Okay, here's what happened. I'm sitting here. It's a Thursday. It's about 11 o'clock. And the agent calls me in complete panic mode. I'm like, what the hell is going on? She's like, the whole house is just broken. The vents aren't right. The furnace does not work. The AC unit is off. And like all these things are wrong, right? I'm like, okay, all right. No problem. If things are broken, they must be fixed. Send me the report. I will look through it and it will go from there. Later that day, I get the report. And the next morning, people, we get our attorney letter requesting $7,000. $7,000 in credit. Now, on a property that's $156,000, $7,000 is a lot, all right? And I'm like, okay, I'm looking through the report. I don't see anything that warrants a $7,000 credit. I just don't see it. So I'm like, okay, let me see what I could do to prove my point that nothing is really broken, and we can go from there. I read the major issue was that the furnace was not working. So I get to the furnace section, and it reads, furnace is inoperable at the time of inspection. Now, to me, that does not sound like a broken furnace. That sounds like a furnace that was just not on. I was lucky enough to have a very close friend in the HVAC industry. I call him up. I'm like, listen, I need you to come inspect this furnace. I don't need you to fix it. I just need you to turn it on and tell me if it works. My friend comes by, turns on the furnace right away. He just had to light the pilot. It's working fine. It's heating the property pretty well. Everything is going good. At this approximate time, I get a call from the agent, right? The buyer's agent. Ring, ring, ring. I'm like, hello? And she was basically a little upset that I was trying to figure out what's wrong with the furnace. I don't understand why she was upset, but whatever. She's like, hey, I heard you guys are trying to, find a way to fix the furnace. And I'm like, no, we're not fixing any furnace. I'm just trying to see if it's broken or if it works. And then she got upset. She basically insinuated that I was just doing a temporary fix so you could pass inspection and then break on her, right? Now, the buyer was her son. So she was personally involved, and she actually cared a lot about the transaction. So I can understand her point. But after we spoke for about 5 minutes, I tried to explain to the agent, listen, I'm not fixing anything. I'm just turning it on, and it works perfectly fine. So we can't really give you $7,000 for when a furnace is working perfectly fine. She hangs up the phone on me. I'm not kidding. A real estate professional hangs up the phone in the middle of a negotiations with me. Okay, that's what happened. I said, no worries. I know she'll call back. Later that night, so this was Friday, right? So later that night, I'm getting ready to go out with my friends, have some drinks. She calls me. Of course, work comes first, and I'm always available. So I'm talking to her. And between Friday to Sunday morning, we're going back and forth, right? We're negotiating. I'm dodging and dipping, whatever it is, and then rules and that. Kabang! I finally get my number. All right. I got him from $7,000 all the way down to a $1,000 credit, which I had planned to give from the beginning because I knew the whole property was old, that some minor things would be wrong, which is why when the client said 155, I got the 156. See where I'm going here? So that's over. That was the first week. That's done. Later that Sunday, we get an email requesting that for any reason, if the buyer decides to back out, they can have their earnest money back. What? Sorry, what? Now, the whole point of earnest money is that if a buyer wakes up one morning and says, I don't want this house, the seller doesn't lose all that market time and that money they could have made, right? So now I have to explain to this agent, we're not going to give you the earnest money just because you decide not to buy the property, because I knew that they were trying to find a way out. There's no way you're getting out now. I just did all that work getting you from 7 to 1,000. You're staying and you're buying this place. So finally we got that done as well. We get to the closing table, all right? I'm not even going to mention some minor issues that came up between that and closing. Get to the closing table. I am expecting everything to go smoothly. My client is in Vegas just waiting patiently to get the good news that she's done with this place. She's already pre-signed. We're in the conference room waiting for the buyers to sign. Me and the attorney, we step out, and some lady just says the words, "Who's Richard?" I paid no mind. I'm like, she must not be talking to me because my name is Aaron. My client's name ain't Richard. No, it's the attorney Richard. Nobody here is named Richard, so I'm like, not my business. She's like, for this property, who's Richard? I'm like, oh hell no. She said my property. I'm like, what do you mean, who's Richard, lady? There's no Richard here. She's like, well, on the deed, there's a man named Richard, and he needs to sign all this paperwork. I'm like, sorry, nobody caught this at all during the entire process? Like, no, we just saw it. I'm like, okay, all right, no problem. Now at this point, the attorney went into a little bit of panic mode. She's like, oh God, this could all fall apart. I'm like, listen, man, you need to get yourself together. My client's in Vegas. All right, she's expecting great news, and God damn it, she's gonna get great news from me. All right, so I'm like, let's figure out who Richard is and get him over here and sign. No problem. If I gotta drive to Richard, get him to sign the paperwork, I'll do it. We get Richard on the phone. Turns out Richard is my client's father, who had signed on the loan just so they could get it back in 2007. The problem with Richard is that he's not even in the continent at the time of closing. Yep, he's not even there. I believe he was in Ukraine or somewhere in Eastern Europe. So I'm like, okay, no problem. We found out, lucky for us, that he's gonna show up Saturday morning. He's flying in Friday night, so Saturday morning he can sign all the paperwork. So basically we work it out so we can do dry closing, but nobody gets paid until he signs all the paperwork. So that's all done. And we close. Get the check, get it to my client, everybody is happy. And then a week later, I received this beautiful note that I'm going to read to you. It's from a client of mine. This is why I work so hard, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for all your help selling my condo. I really appreciate it. I will make sure to tell anyone I know that you are the greatest realtor ever. Now, I tell you the story for this reason. If you're hiring an agent that's going to do something for you for 3.5%, do you think they're going to pick up the phone on a Friday night? Do you think they're going to care enough to get an HVAC professional to inspect the furnace? Do you think they're going to care if you're going to close or not? Because they probably have 10, 20 listings. They just need 2 or 3 to close. That's it. Me, on the other hand, and other professionals who charge a little bit more for our services, I charge 6, some do 7, some do 8, some do 5. But the full service brokers out there who work day in and day out to make sure that the client is happy are not going to work for cheap. Okay? So if you want results like my client, who yes, paid a little bit more in commission, but if you do the math at how much money I saved her, she actually walked away with more by working with me than she would have worked with anybody else. And that's a fact. So think about that before you make a decision on who you hire. You don't have to hire me, but hire someone who can actually get your property sold and sold for top dollar. Thank you for watching. If you've got questions, I'm sure you've got questions. Let me know. Comment below, call me, email me, I don't know, send me a DM, whatever you want to do. But ask me and I'll be happy to help you out. Thank you.